Hey all, Connor here from Kamerastore.com, joined as usual by Nico. We have another round of Q&A, so you guys submitted some questions on Instagram, and we're going to answer them. So if any questions pop up related to our store, cameras, film, repairs, that kind of thing, leave a comment below, or follow us on Instagram to participate in the Q&A that way. Let's get started.
Okay, let's get started. Vittorio Antonio, Italian probably. Do you guys do tours of the facility? Well, we have done some, like we've done schools. I know you've done a school in the past. Yeah. Like if you contact us and give us some time, maybe sometimes. I know we've even had the idea of like maybe doing like tours on Fridays, like during the summer. The problem we have is we're currently expanding our operation, which means there's construction happening and things around, so it's not so easy.
Yeah.
But the answer is kind of no.
Yeah, mostly no. You can't just walk in and sort of just walk around the facility. We have people actively working, so we don't want to disturb them. The best way to, if you want to see, is probably to organize a tour with a group of people. Like Nico said, I've given tours to some local photography groups. We've had classes from local universities and high schools come in, stuff like that. So not necessarily just an individual person.
Or become famous. If you're famous, we will.
Well, yeah, that's true. If you have.
We've done it for YouTubers and some other people. I mean, I'm joking, but I'm not joking.
Yeah.
If you are interested in photography and you have a large, following, it's obviously a good thing for both parties to like, we show you, you learn something, you show it to your audience. But mostly individuals no. But if you have a collective, like Connor said, like a darkroom association, yep. You're coming with your high school and you're like, hey, we'd love to see it. We most probably will show you. We're very proud of what we do here.
Yeah.
So there's nothing we want to hide. And that's why we have kind of open doors in one way or another. Mm-hmm. But yeah, individual just ringing the doorbell and being like, hey, I'm here to see the facility is going to be a no-go.
Yeah, especially during office hours. If you come with a group after office hours and it's organized and everything, then we may be able to show you around.
Yeah. Okay, next question. The Rio Jaggle. Thoughts on the new Rollei 35, and I'll add AF, because it's AF.
Because it's AF. That's a big difference. One of my main issues with the Rollei 35, as it exists, is that there's no focus aid. I find that frustrating and finicky. So maybe this will solve some of my issues.
Yeah, Connor's in the bokeh stage still. So if you're stopping it down to F8, F11, usually it's okay. But if you're trying to shoot with 2.8 sonar and 40 mil, it's kind of hit or miss.
Yeah, just I'm trying to take pictures of flowers. Like they're close up.
Yeah, but the new one, I mean, it's exciting to see. I think it's going to be a quite important development. The fact that they're manufacturing a new film camera that's full frame, has AF with LiDAR, which I think hasn't been done in film cameras ever. That is developed in partnership between Mint and Rollei, which gives the opportunity of Mint to prove themselves as a manufacturer of actual roll film photography cameras. They've been doing instant cameras for years. Mm-hmm. I think the price point has been mentioned, $650 to $800 US. Do remember that if you're a country that likes taxes, like Europe, or like the European community, it's going to be that plus VAT.
Yeah.
So here it'll be like $1,000, give or take. It's cool. I think it's really interesting to see where how the market will react, how people will buy it or not, and if this is one of many or one, and then they're like, there's not enough interest to justify more development, and then we're stuck with that.
Yeah, that's the tough part of being an early adopter or an early innovator in early, but like coming back to film cameras basically, is that there's an upfront cost to that R&D, and that has to be passed on to the customer a little bit. So if you compare these new cameras directly to a Yashica T5 or whatever, something that's around the same price, it's not going to look good for the new one, but like you're sort of paying for the promise of a future industry as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, personally, I think it's important to support them.
Yeah.
Leads into the next question.
Yep. 1995 Luis Parra. What price would you pay for the upcoming Pentax film camera? Price hasn't been said at all for the Pentax camera. I think the Rollei 35AF at a 650 to 800 for full frame is marking probably the maximum that they could even try to be there, because people are going to compare these two cameras all the time. So being half frame, zone focus, yes, it has like aperture control, like kind of like, automatic settings for pictures to look good. It's going to be a bit more complicated for them to go for more than 650 to 800. I would think that the price for this should be in the 450 to 500 mark. If it goes over, it'll be a harder sell.
Yeah.
If it goes under, it's going to be an obvious, pretty good choice. But I don't know. What price would you pay? I'd say I'll pay like 450, 500. I would be very okay with. If it's more, maybe.
Yeah, I think that 500 number is a really good, like, knowing what they've gone through to come up with this and the work that they've put into it and their plans for the future. I think that would be a good show of support.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited to have, like you said, have both of them and be able to compare them, because even if they're not exactly the same camera, they're coming out at the same time. They both have a well-known name attached to them to some degree. It's an exciting time to be a film photography industry person or somebody who takes pictures.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. But I think that's where I would say like 500-ish, I think it'd be decent price. We go ahead and compare, like you said Yashica T5, T4 versus the Rollei, but like these, Pentax is not going to be a Mewtwo killer, but it's kind of like an XA2,
It's kind of like a
XA3-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in that realm, couple hundred for a secondhand one, 500 for a new one is within reason.
With a warranty and hopefully with some sort of support
And
system.
Pentax brand behind, which is like Pentax is not being sold to some Hong Kong corporation and be making night vision goggles or something like that. It's actually still Pentax Ricoh, so that's kind of cool. So
Rollei still night vision goggles. That'd be so cool.
No,
I would buy night vision
Yashica
goggles.
does.
Yeah, Yashica does. Yeah.
But yeah, let's go for the next question before we derail. DKang Photos. How can I meter with pre-AI lenses on the Nikon F5? I didn't know anything about the Nikon F5 compatibility with pre-AI lenses, and we did a pre-reading. I would say an external light meter, but Connor did more research because he went to university, not like me, and says that
Going to university just means you're good at using Google. The F5 can't use pre-AI lenses. They don't mount properly without modification. So you either have to modify the lenses or modify the body. And either way, you're going to end up with stop-down metering only.
or external handheld meter.
Or external handheld metering, yeah. So it's not ideal. I would probably recommend ponying up a little bit of extra cash to get an AI version of the lens. It's just going to be much more compatible and, yeah.
Yep, that's good. The wondering negative. If you had to choose between the Nikon F2 or F3 as your workhorse camera, which would you choose?
I actually traded in my F3 when I moved here.
I'd say Leica M2.
Yeah, I had an F3 and I traded it, and now I have a Nikon F, the original one.
Yeah, I think like the F3 is an amazing camera, and in the progression of the Nikon F, it's obviously better at the time than the F2. But a lot of photographers back in the day didn't upgrade to the F3 because they were very happy with mechanical everything F2. And now, fast forward whatever many decades later, the F3 is electronics, which if they go bust, they're pretty much bust unless you really are like a master of electronics and tinkering and calibrating and reconfiguring CPUs from 19 whatever. So the F2 is probably a much better option for lifetime.
Yeah, in terms of like having it last for decades and decades, yeah.
So F2, we both admit F2 or F original.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like my F because it's a cool like historical camera, but if I were to like do any sort of professional work or use it every single day, I probably would switch to an F2.
Yeah, I don't like the shutter button on the F because it's like picked from the rangefinder, so it's like backwards. Like my finger is like twisted like frontwards, not backwards. It's like I have to shoot it with my finger the other way around.
And the film advance lever's a little small, and the meters never work, and
yeah,
the F2 is a better camera.
Yep, F2. We have another question from a name I can't pronounce. Does battery affect manual film cameras more or less? Is it okay if the battery runs out?
So, assuming that you mean more or less than a non-manual, so basically, manual film cameras, manual focus film cameras are going to be either mechanical or electronic. And these are just words that we use. Obviously, mechanical means something specific, but with film cameras, mechanical means it doesn't need a battery to fire the shutter. These cameras only use a battery for a light meter, for a motor winder, for something like that, something sort of extra.
So if it depletes, you still have a working mechanical camera, just no
Yeah.
light meter or no motor winder.
Yeah. With an electronic camera, the battery powers everything. So the battery powers the shutter, auto exposure, the light meter, all that kind of stuff. So in that sense, a mechanical camera would be affected by batteries less, and it is okay to let the battery run out. But with an electronic camera, you would need a battery at all times.
It won't shoot if there's no battery. And there's hybrid cameras. We're not going to get into that here because there's like some that do some speeds mechanically and some do electronically. Yeah. Again, we're not going to get into those. But yeah, I agree. Mechanical camera, you can shoot, like I have an M6, which is a high-end mechanical camera with a light meter that uses only that battery. I leave the battery out. I have no light meter. The camera shoots the same. I just don't get the arrows on the viewfinder and no assist for light metering. Yep. And then there's cameras like the Leica M7, again, a very high-end, but it's electronically controlled. If the batteries die in that camera, there's like one emergency shutter speed that you can use. So yeah, you got to be careful in that sense. It won't be like running out of battery won't ever be a problem for the camera. Like it won't explode and die or whatever. No. But what will happen is you'll just run out of, you can't shoot anymore. You need a battery. And some cameras like the Pentax 6x7, it does some weird shenanigans with the mirror, and then you look like you broke it, and you have to press like a reset. So like, just read on it. If you have a mechanical camera, electronic camera, and you run out of batteries mid picture, because you might have to do some tricks to get it back into working.
Yeah.
But yeah, next question. Does Fujifilm still make Provia 120? Risque.
What Fujifilm does is a mystery to you and me, honestly.
To all of us.
Every single week they're doing something, and then they're not doing another thing. And we're so far away in Europe that it's like, by the time news reaches us, it's probably the opposite in Japan. They're just very secretive, as a lot of Japanese companies are, and a lot of companies in general. But yeah, well, we don't know that much more than you guys do.
Yeah, Fuji has been famous for not sharing any information. Like they make their public announcements on their like update blog page, and they give all kinds of reasons like, hey, we're going to stop manufacturing 35mm for a little bit. Then they're like, we're back. Then we see that they're like, we're discontinuing the Fujifilm made in Japan, but we have this other alternative that's made in Kodak or America, which is obviously Kodak.
Yeah.
To be honest, Fujifilm making Provia and 120 at this time and age is like, I'm going to guesstimate, but I'm going to say I'm 80% sure they are not making it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think I'm probably not wrong. But then again, if you find any stock and it's kind of fresh, buy it. That's what I've told people that love Provia in 120 because it's a beautiful film. If you find it and you love it, I don't know, sell your car, buy Provia. And then you will be able to afford 2 cars because prices of expired film that is discontinued skyrocket. But don't do that. It's kind of rude to do stonks on film.
Sell your shoes and buy film.
Yes, you don't need shoes in Finland in summer.
Fujifilm is the we're so back, it's so over meme over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You know that? You don't know that one?
No.
Your kids didn't tell you that one? It's fine.
Okay. But yeah, that's the Q&A for this week. As always, leave your questions in the comments below. Social media on Instagram is where we do the call out for Q&As every couple of weeks when we have time. But make sure to ask all your questions about film photography, the store, our products, life in Finland, and so on in our social medias. And Connor will do his best to gather them up here for another Q&A.
Yes. See you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.